Road accident is one of the leading causes of death across the world. It has become a global menace, leading to serious injuries and a life of misery for a lot of people. However, lives can be saved if there is on-the-spot help for accident victims. Welcome to Road Matters. I am Fatima Umar. It is a sad fact that people pass by accident victims without helping them. Not because they do not want to help, but because they are afraid of what will happen after the help. This is not right. Is there a law on compulsory treatment of accident victims? And how far has it been implemented? We'll find out more in the course of this program today. First, we drive to Ibadan in Oyo State, where Bumi Adeyemo will take us through on compulsory treatment of accident victims.
It is a common knowledge for hospitals to deny treatment to injured victims without any form of official clearance from police authorities. These, on major occasions, have caused rising figures of casualties, either from armed robbery victims or ghastly motor accidents, especially when victims or their relatives couldn't get the clearance on time.
Out of the people I had met and discussed with, I discovered that when they encounter such accidents, at the end of the day, they don't normally have the opportunity of being who they were before. Some cases there will be deformity. There are times properties will go along with it, because when the person is being admitted, the hospital will be demanding for this, demanding for that, and before you know it, cars, houses will be sold in order to make sure that this person still lives. And at times, by the time they are discharged and out of the hospital, there's nothing for them again.
Accident experiences are usually very bad, as we know. It was a very bad experience for me, as usual. And how I overcame the accident, it was just my own willingness to be alive. And number two, taking the drug in dosages as administered by the physicians.
Although this phenomenon goes against the ethics of the health providers like doctors and nurses to save lives first, still there is need to abide by the dictates of the law.
It's not supposed to be like that. You don't need a police report to attend to accident victims or gunshot injuries or suspected armed robbers. We are supposed to treat them, and if they have a police report, fantastic. If they don't have, treat and report to the police. But if it's accident, because you don't know who and how they will dump the person, you treat the patient, but you make sure one person stays with the patient. You get the ID of that person. You must have an ID and the phone number. Sometimes they give you a wrong phone number. As soon as it gives you a phone number, call that number and let it ring. So you know the person standing with the person, it's actually genuine. So you are supposed to treat, then request for a police report or inform the police. It is wrong to drive them away and get a police report.
With the government order that accident victims should be given prompt and adequate medical care, there seems to be hope of survival for victims.
Any Nigerian that attend to accident victims, taking accident victims to the hospital, the first thing they will request is police report. The purpose of police report is to guide the incidents of what happened. That is for the government to know exactly what really happened.
The life of every citizen is precious, no matter the circumstance of victims. As such, it should not be allowed to waste.
Road accident victims have found it difficult to get prompt medical attention, which has caused hardships and sometimes loss of lives. Let's move to Awka in Anambra State, where Ifeoma Uche will take us through on compulsory treatment of accident victims there in Awka.
For many decades, road traffic crashes has become an issue of great concern as it is one of the leadway causes to death globally. One of the major issues facing safety on Nigerian roads today is overspeeding and lack of concentration. It has become imperative for the Federal Road Safety Corps to intensify efforts to check the trend and also tell us the compulsory treatment for accident victims.
When a crash occurred on the road, it is expected that the public inform the Federal Road Safety Corps or any other road safety emergency agency, to conduct rescue operations. When we are informed, we go straight down to the scene of the crash to ensure that we evacuate the victims of the road traffic crash and take them to the nearest hospital for further medical help.
The Federal Road Safety tells us more on the difficulties road users experience when involved in an accident and efforts done.
What is expected of a road user is that when they witness a crash, the first thing they're supposed to do is to call the emergency number 122 of FRSC. But I'm surprised that some of them will not do that. Now I'm saying that the next thing they would do was to start snapping pictures of the crash, taking pictures, neglecting, the victims of that road traffic crash instead of ready help. And in some cases, you see them even, ensuring that they conduct the rescue themselves when they don't have the required expertise, rendering first aid to the victims of road traffic crashes and further worsening the situations of the victims. Again, when such things happen, you see some of them constituting a nuisance by parking as passerby trying to see what is happening, even disrupting the activities of the road safety officials who are there to ensure that they evacuate the victims. You see all of them gathering. They don't have any business at asking, but because of the crash that occurred, all of them want to go to that place and start looking when they don't have any business there. These are part of the problems that we have. One of the difficulties again is when a crash occurs in the night. It is always very difficult, to get help. So we advise the public to please try as much as possible to plan their journey during the daytime, because when the crash occurs in the night, it's always very difficult to get help.
Here is one of the flashpoints of road traffic crashes in Awka, the Anambra State capital, known as Immigration Junction or Ezuzu Junction. Let's find out from road users their experiences when there is a crash.
Especially the road safety corps. I'll give them 100%. They are doing their best.
I've been in an accident scene before, like I was the one driving and the guy behind me lost control and he jammed us. We entered into the bush. Road safety came and police came. But just communication was just a problem that took time, but they came.
The important thing in an accident scene is to rescue those people that are involved. But in this time around, you see people taking shots, snapshots and posting all those things instead of rescuing those people. The response of the police and the other security agents like the road safety is not encouraging.
I was involved in an accident. That's what did to my cutting of my right leg. And then I was attended by road safety. They came to my rescue. They took me to hospital. Even they have to pay my bill safe.
Consensus is that safety is everybody's business. In case of any accident, alert the road safety emergency number for prompt actions.
Thank you, Ifoma, for that contribution from Awka. Let's now move to Uyo in Akwa Ibom State, where Ekomobong will take us through on the compulsory treatment of accident victims there in Uyo.
Road traffic crashes has been identified as one of the leading causes of death in Nigeria. While a lot of these crashes could have been avoided if road users obeyed traffic rules to the letter, there is also the question of whether or not the death of the victims of these road traffic crashes could have been avoided. My name is Ekomobong Ntese, and this is Uyo, Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria. In Akwa Ibom State, according to the Sector Commander of the Federal Road Safety Corps, Akwa Ibom Sector Command, Ochi Samuel, the rate of road traffic crashes has been relatively low in comparison to other states of the Federation in the past year. However, he noted that a lot of education and enlightenment needs to be done in the area of rescue of accident victims.
We noticed that a number of times when an accident occurs on the highway, people prefer to gather around the place and then they become spectators. They watch what happens without really giving a helping hand. We have our lines, and we also have what we call responders, first responders that are trained at the various communities that give us information where accidents occur, so that the Federal Road Safety, through the use of the ambulance or the patrol cars, respond to evacuate crash victims to the nearest hospitals.
In the time past, salvage of accident victims happened frequently through fellow road users, especially commercial transporters. But in recent times, for fear of being accused of being responsible for the accident or death of victims, some would rather inform the police on their way and not be directly involved, and some would just rather look on. The brave ones or family members who proceed with the victims to the hospitals are allegedly faced with the issues of bill payment before treatment of emergency cases.
I have been involved in a couple of accidents. This guy with the rickety bus, this man hit his head on the iron, and the iron kind of cut his head, and blood was gushing out. I had to step down and hail the man. And I went down, entered into their reception, and I said, this man has accident. This man hit his head on this iron, and it said, first of all, he must register, must pay money and register. I believe strongly that we need to get that out of the way. When it is a case of accident, it is a case of emergency.
You see the number of cases, and sometimes they've been there for sometimes 6 hours, sometimes still bleeding and all of that. So it's usually a very ugly sight. We don't see that quick response to emergency cases, especially accident victims. We need more professionals to be up and doing. And then government should also respond. Sometimes maybe it's because of the incessant, industrial actions here and there. So sometimes you get there and the nurses are on strike, the doctors are on strike. Of course, what do you expect?
Buy card first, do this, register this and that before they start attending to someone who's at the verge of death.
An orthopedic surgeon and head of department, accident and emergency, University of Uyo Teaching Hospital, Dr. Ibiok Usendia, takes us through the admission and treatment processes of accident victims.
The first team that will meet that patient is the coronavirus screening team. On getting in there, whosoever brought the patient will be encouraged to visit the health information unit, otherwise known as the medical records unit, where that patient will be registered and a card obtained for the patient. At this point in time, the nurses in A&E will take the vital signs of the patient, confirm whether the patient is even alive. If he's still alive, then doctors on duty will be notified, and they will now attend to the patient. At this point in time, the card should have been ready from the health information system, because at the end of the history taken by the doctor, examination by the doctor, all those information will be documented into the folder. However, we have made provisions for people that arrive and they don't have the emergency card fee money to pay. The hospital has made provisions for the card to be released and clearly written at the top, card fee not paid. In drugs, emergency infusions will be taken care of. Even if the patient needs blood, sometimes we have to rush to the blood bank and sign for at least a pint of blood and come and transfuse for the patient, all in an attempt to keep the patient alive. However, within that 24 hours, while the doctors are doing their best to sustain the person, the relations are informed, whoever brought the patient. Those treatments are not free. After that 24 hours, we no longer consider it as an emergency. Whatever has been done has been done. Subsequently, the relations have to come and pay and ensure that things are done and funded by them.
While some occurrences are beyond our control, it is pertinent to take the necessary precautions, especially on the roads, to avoid road traffic crashes. And when they do occur, the humane thing to do is to lend a helping hand and support all the way. My name is Ekomobong Ntese.
We all need to be good citizens and assist each other as we drive on the road. There are bound to be victims from road accidents due to carelessness of drivers, bad roads, and road mishaps. And if the victims do not get the help they need, it could lead to loss of lives or permanent injuries. We should all be our brother's keepers. Now, there is an emergency number 112 for assistance. Is there a response when doubt? What you should do when you see accident victims. Road Matters had a chat with the country director, UN Decade of Action on Road Safety.
For us in Nigeria, we think is a work in progress. We still do have strong challenges in terms of issue of road safety compliance. The legislation is being changed, modified from time to time. We are good. We have an agency called Federal Road Safety Corps, who has been charged to address these road safety issues. But as you do know, road safety can never be domiciled in one single agency. It's every person's business. But what has happened is, in 2014, the National Health Act was passed. That National Health Act provided that a proportion of funds, 1%, not less than 1% of the consolidated revenue, annual revenue of the government, or the federation, should be set aside for basic healthcare in the country. And that basic healthcare cut across all strata, both at the primary and the secondary level. Among the basic healthcare funds, we are within the basic healthcare funds, 5% of that basic healthcare funds provided in that act is set aside for emergency medical treatment. And what that fund means is persons who require urgent care or emergency care, medical care, should receive treatment, and that treatment shall be paid for from that fund, without recourse to asking for deposits or police reports by the healthcare providers, hospitals or medical facilities, or even ambulance providers to transport these persons from one point of the scene of incident to the hospital. And then when they get to the hospital will no longer ask for deposits. It will go ahead and treat, at least to the first 48 hours. Okay? Pending when the life has been saved. Is a law which protects consumer, including person needing emergency services, not to be denied of service, not to be denied of emergency care by any facility because of they're unable to pay. That is being implemented because I have been in the committee set up by that commission to try some hospitals in Lagos. Somebody was stabbed, a girl, a banker, just closed work and was stabbed in the neck. And of course, people ran away. A good Samaritan saw her, picked her, rushed to a hospital. And the hospital was dilly-dallying, and they said, okay, no, they're not going to treat it. Send the person go somewhere else. In the process of going somewhere else, the girl died. So the family reported. It is a law, but as a consumer, you must know your rights. Even there's amendment of the Police Act. That actually goes towards gunshot injuries, where the IG of police had come out to say that if patients come with gunshot injuries, that you should treat without waiting for police report.
In July 2019, I was driving in from Wuse 2 down to Wuse, between the Zone 4 bridge and the Wuse Market Bridge. A crash happened, and I didn't exactly know what led to the crash, but all I could see was a lot of people, gathering within the scene of the crash. And the crash was fatal. The victims of the crash were screaming at the top of their voice. It happens that a driver was driving against the traffic, not knowing that a vehicle was coming up. That was what led to the collision, and it was fatal. Having said that, What happened at that scene was traumatic for me because instead of people rushing to assist the victim, I can see people gathering and taking picture of the victim or the crash scene, which is very, very, very unacceptable. Because these are victims of crash road accident, and they are really in pain. The least you can do is to call the 112. But let me also further explain what transpired. The moment I arrived there, I quickly called the 112, but unfortunately, the 112 wasn't connecting, and it took 10 to 30 minutes before rescue team from the Federal Road Safety arrived at the scene of the crash. And even when they arrived, the way they managed the situation, the way they were under pressure, because a lot of persons have gathered and mounted pressure that they should do something. And the way they were carrying the victim was screaming at the top of his voice. This means that, he was poorly managed. I didn't see any structure within the team of the rescue members of the Federal Road Safety. And so there is a need to empower, to train Federal Road Safety team, the rescue team, not just the rescue team, but the patrol team on issues of rescue and phase 8 administration to crash victims. There are basic tools that a driver needs to have, like a razor blade, which would help in case of trap and all of that. But what you find out is a lot of drivers do not have such tools and equipment. But I'm looking at a situation whereby we incorporate aspect of phase 8 treatment, the basic phase 8 treatment to all drivers. Even if it is a day class, such that these drivers have the basic knowledge, because it takes little thing for someone to die, and it also takes little thing for that person, for you to resuscitate that person. So if these drivers have the basic knowledge to resuscitate crash victim, I think it will go a long way to reduce the number of fatalities we have on our way. And the best way to do that is to try and incorporate those basic first aid knowledge to drivers' training.
There is an urgent need for the implementation of this act and for all to be kind to one another to save lives. Do follow the program on the social media handle on Twitter at RoadMattersNTA or send a mail to roadmatters@nta.ng. Until the next episode, I am Fatima Umar. Be good citizens and be good on the road so the road can be good to you. Bye-bye.